guys. Let's see. I see Kami. Oh my god. Okay. 86 blackberry white, blueberry white. I just found out who you are because you won the trivia and we sent you a t-shirt. I had no idea that you were who you are. I had no idea. I'm like, wait, they're in like every show I do for like a year. I had no idea it was you. I know you were like, we met once and you're in PA, but I had no idea it was you. So you had me confused. I know for a fact I've called you sister and girlfriend and stuff like that. I know for a fact I have.
And I've called you Blueberry.
Huh?
Didn't I call them Blueberry? Yeah. So
but it makes perfect sense because he has like a very white kind of voice, like a real deep voice. So it makes total sense. So yes, you have been exposed. What is going on with you, Andrew?
Not too much. Just with my little fidget spinner right now here.
Nice.
So, yeah, bring him back to 2018. You know, that's what we got to do sometimes.
He's good with his hands. He's good with his hands.
You know.
Wait, where's my thingy? Let me see.
No, do you have a fidget spinner too?
No, I have a fucking
fucking up.
A squeeze ball. A whirl. Yes. That's what happens when I get mad. But anyway, yes.
We've lost viewers from that. No, I'm just kidding.
Here, see if you can catch this. We have some fun topics tonight. Yes, a few are ones you are probably hearing other places tonight. We admit it, but some are not. So, I mean, sometimes we just hear news that is just like too big and we want to comment on it. So, yeah, let's get started.
All right. So, sorry, I shouldn't talk with covering my mouth. That's anyway. So, Cornel West is running for president. I don't know, Joy. Did you see that coming?
I'm not surprised he's running, but I'm disgusted he's running with MPP. A lot of us asked him to run in 2020, or when Bernie announced, at least asked him to be VP.
Yeah.
I am pretty heartbroken that he's running with MPP. I'm not going to lie. And there's several reasons for that. But first, do you want to read that and let's play his announcement video?
I am running for truth and justice as a presidential candidate for the People's Party to reintroduce America to the best of itself, fighting to end poverty, mass incarceration, ending wars and ecological collapse, guaranteeing housing, healthcare, education, and living wages for all. Join the movement at cornelwest24.com. All right, let me enlarge this and then we're going to play it.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth. I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, de-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption. Wide from below, the energies of everyday people is manifest. And I know there are precious people in your life who you care for. That's why it's important for you to be involved, important for you to participate. We're not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins, because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech. Neo-fascists like Brother Trump or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean? Well, I know gangsters when I see them. And gangster's not a subjective expression. It's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see. But some of us are going to go down fighting, go down swinging with style and a smile, accenting the best in you and trying to tease out the best in me. Let's do it together.
Honestly, makes me want to cry. Like, it really does, because he is such a big piece of my heart. When I met him, I sobbed. Like, I literally sobbed. And I was like, like, I was like sobbing. You can tell in the picture. And he's like, what's your name? And puts his arms around me. And I'm like, Joy. And he's like, Sister Joy, it's going to be okay. And then it's the cutest photo with his like arm around me and he's leaning on my shoulder. And then, you know, we met again at Force the Vote. And, you know, he's just someone I have truly looked up to for years. And if he was running independent, like, I literally would get a lottery ticket today. I would feel so fucking happy. I can't even tell you guys. Because there is a lot of difference between independent and even Green and MPP. So first, let's get to the point that, and I'm getting ratioed on Twitter for saying these things, even though they're true. So first, let's talk about MPP. Let's talk about the sexual assault accusations. Let's talk about how they fired everyone on the board except his dad and like 2 other people. Let's talk about how they've been accused of stealing people's money for 8 years. Let's talk about how they raised over $100,000 for freaking jumbotrons a few months ago. Let's talk about all of the shadiness. Let's talk about the homophobia. Let's talk about the fact that they had to literally be threatened by Susan Sarandon that she would stop supporting MPP if they did not make Julian Assange part of their platform. And that's the only reason they did. And yes, I do know this for a fact. They are garbage. They're garbage. Like, they are absolute garbage. And on a, you know, a different note, let's talk about how they have no ballot access. You are going to have such a huge fucking rude awakening if you are in a closed primary state and you go to switch to MPP so you can vote for Brother Cornel and you realize there is no MPP. Who the fuck are you trying to switch to? It doesn't exist. Literally, it does not exist. His name will not be on that ballot. Now, if you want to go to the general and write him in, you do you. But that's not what people are saying. People are saying they're going to vote for him in the primary because they're not fucking listening to the actual facts. The facts are he's not going to be on the fucking ballot. They've been trying to get ballot access for 8 years. They don't have it. So, that being said, instead of doing independent, okay, which has access in every state, which if they got 5% of the vote or higher, would then be allowed on debate stages, would then be allowed to have public funding, would then make it so that it's not a duopoly, because now there would be 3 main parties. He could have got over 5% easily. But instead of going that route, or even Green route, who has 21 states have access, we're not going to go those routes. We're going to go MPP to people who have never run a single candidate in the 8 years they've been taking people's money. And that's the hill you want to die on? Like, Brother Cornel, like, what? Okay, and I'm going to say it right now, and this is one of the reasons I'm getting, like, destroyed on Twitter. The fact of the matter is, if you guys are on Twitter, you saw the way Nick Brana has been begging, literally begging Jimmy Dore to run for president, pleading, making these posts like, if you have any hope in America, if you have any hope in people's lives, please tell Jimmy Dore in this thread that you need him to run to save humanity, and all these posts about how, quote unquote, it's beautiful, the hope people have, and like all this shit. I mean, it is beyond extra. And then 3 weeks ago, Brother Cornel is on stage at a Marianne Williamson event for president's campaign 3 weeks ago. I don't care if he endorses it or whatever. My point is that they've been pushing Jimmy Dore. He was with Marianne like 3 weeks ago, and now he's announcing. It doesn't take a fucking brain surgeon to realize Jimmy said no, and all of a sudden Brother Cornel is their leftover. And they're like, Brother Cornel, Jimmy said no, you should run with us. That's what's happening. Like, why can't people see this? Like, I'm blind and I can fucking see this. It's not that complicated. They are telling Brother Cornel that he has an actual chance. Brother Cornel stands for justice. He fights for justice. He has been a pinnacle in so many lives. But this is now his legacy. Nick Brana is buying his new beach house right now with all the donations coming in. Andrew, what was your response when you saw Brother Cornel was running, and then also that it was MPP?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was honestly surprised on both parts. I honestly didn't really see Cornel West as ever actually running for president. But I think I was much more surprised when I found out it was with MPP. Just because, and I think I was saying this to you before, I realized that Cornel West is not habitually on Twitter or in the online space, which is probably a good thing, especially as of late. I think anybody who can keep their distance away is probably a much better person, and
much more mentally healthy.
Right. But at the same time, it literally takes like 2 minutes of just quick Google to see everything that MPP has done over these years. And so I was just very surprised that Cornel West would be somebody who would be okay with being associated with a party like that. I'm very much I'm in support of third parties. I know you are, right? We're definitely not Democratic loyalists. It's just clear that MPP has not been even a leftist organization, right? They've petered right for the last 2 years. Like, even just take away the accusations in Lgbtia, the fact that they fired like a group of Black and brown people because they spoke up against racism in like their internal chats, right? And just didn't even deal with it. Like, take away that, their policies, positions, they continue to just like step away from, real left things. So yeah, that's sort of my thought.
They have aligned with the Libertarian Party. They're doing joint events with them, and they're sharing each other's posts. And the Libertarian Party is literally fucking racist and makes racist, like, literally the Twitter account Libertarian Party says the most disgusting, homophobic, racist things, and MPP shares it. So that's who you're.
And I guess the question is, can somebody like Cornel West make that party better? Well, hasn't worked with the Democratic Party when it comes to people who you think are better than the party that they're running on. That didn't work. Bernie didn't make the Democratic Party better, right? I'm not even going to talk about the Republicans because I have no notion that they at all, want to be good at all.
They're much better.
I can't think of anybody who ran on the Republican Party that's better than like the general Republican Party. But I think it's clear, right, that hasn't worked. A person has not made a party better. I'm curious. One thing I'm actually curious about is, Cornel West is somebody who is fairly mainstream, right? He's one of those people that like CNN, MSNBC are like, okay, we'll have him on every 3 months, right? In moderation, but we'll have him on. And so it'll be interesting to see what the mainstream coverage is like of Cornel West running, if there is any, and how the MPP is going to be described from the mainstream media, right? Because this is an opportunity for the first time for more and more people to learn about who MPP is, because Cornel West is, I'd say, has a lot more name recognition than like Lgbtia. Nobody fucking knows who Lgbtia is, right? So,
well, those who do don't like him.
Of course.
But the other thing I want people to think about is the fact that since there's literally zero chance he can win in a party without ballot access, this is only going to discourage people from voting at all, including third parties, because it's going to be a joke. It's literally going to be a joke. Nobody is going to be able to getting ballot access. They've been trying for 7 years. They haven't succeeded. The fact that people are so really think that they're going to get ballot access in the past, in the next year and a half, it's delusional. And what's going to happen is people are going to get more discouraged, and they're going to say, fuck all third parties. And all of us independents are going to become smaller and smaller and smaller. Dude could have changed political history if he ran independent. He could have literally changed political history. But he chose to run with these fucking idiots who do nothing but take people's money. It's insane. He is way too smart to fucking do this shit. Way too smart. Dude, if he ran independent or even green, I would literally be breakdancing right now.
We'll have to see what Cornel. I mean, I'm sure he'll be taking interviews. I hope he would. He's a candidate now, so I'd be curious to hear if people ask him those questions, like how he would respond to that.
What did some of the comments say? I'm curious.
Well, 86 Blackberry White says, I hate the Democratic Party as much as anyone, but not to the point where I'd align with those who are ideologically opposed to me in nearly every capacity just to spite them. Yeah, I feel like you're smarter than half of left Twitter right now.
I don't even see left Twitter because I'm just like, you complain about electoral politics all the time, more than anything else, and you don't even fucking understand the way they work. You don't even understand that somebody without ballot access does not have a candidate on the fucking voter sheet. Like, you literally can't even comprehend that.
Yeah.
If you don't have ballot access, you're not on a ballot. Like, don't tell me you understand how fucking elections work when you don't even understand that dude's not going to be an option. So this is yet another theft from MPP, who is going to take more money that they never account for. And they're using Cornel, and he has no fucking clue. I never have doubted Cornel's intentions. I haven't. And I don't. And maybe that's naive. But I think he thinks he is doing the right thing. And it's unfortunate. But I think that he genuinely believes he can bring change this way. And it's sad. What was the comment you highlighted?
Left Twitter will eat itself given the time.
Oh, it already is, boom. Totally.
I really hope
Yeah.
so.
It's so reactionary and hateful. Like, I don't even know if there are like leftists because it's crazy. Like, they're doing the epitome of a shit lib response because they're like, well, he's better than blah blah blah. Like, he's better than, you are literally Hillary Clinton right now. That's who you are. You are literally Hillary. Well, yeah, she's a piece of shit, but she's better than Trump. That's what you're saying. That does not win me over. So I see so much shit libbery, gaslighting and shit, and just like defensive, bullshit. When I'm stating facts, like he's not going to be on the ballot, and people are just like going crazy after me, like being defensive and shit. Like, I'm just trying to educate your asses. You're the ones that are going to have a fucking rude awakening when you go to vote for someone who's not even fucking there. So who knows? I still see this as people still wanting to find a savior. They're always looking for some person, someone to save this invisible movement. And now it's Brother Cornel.
Yep. So we'll see how this goes and what he does with his campaign. We got another one. So, yeah. So switching over to, we've talked a little bit about UPS drivers before. There's been definitely some past instances where drivers have not had appropriate air conditioning. They've almost passed out.
Some have died.
Yeah, on the brink of death. And so Teamsters at US are starting their strike authorization vote this week. The 340,000 union workers at UPS are gearing up for what could be the biggest strike at a single employer in US history. I'm pretty sure this is going to happen. I mean, I've heard they're not negotiating, and this is definitely going to affect everyone because UPS is federal. So yeah, I'm going to play a little bit of this clip.
If it seems like it's getting really expensive to order something online or to send a package, you're not going crazy. UPS, the worldwide leader in package shipping, has been jacking up prices over the past few years, up to 11% on packages this year alone. In 2022, the increases led to record revenue, $100 billion, and in profit, $13.1 billion.
Why UPS making billions of dollars in profit? There are people living in the shelter, working for them, can't afford a room.
As you've probably guessed by now, none of that additional profit went to its workers. Instead, UPS is trying to turn its union drivers, warehouse workers, and technicians into glorified gig workers. But the Teamsters, who represent 340,000 UPS workers in tense contract negotiations, are fighting back. If they don't get a fair deal by July 31st, they'll launch the biggest single employer strike in American history. Here's why that matters and what's at stake, not just for UPS workers, but for you too.
Who are we? Teamsters. Who have the power? We have the power.
To understand what's happening right now, it's crucial to know how the situation got this urgent. For decades and decades, working at UPS was a good job that provided a comfortable middle-class life, and it was the union that made that possible. Feeling the heat of the rising labor movement, UPS founder Jim Casey got desperate and preemptively invited the Teamsters to organize UPS workers in 1919. Teamsters leadership had its ups and downs over the years, but the local rank and file always went hard, and they had to. It took threats of a statewide strike in Kentucky to get UPS to simply back off making workers wear bow ties on the job. And the job always meant good pay, healthcare, a pension, and stability. That began to shift in 1982, when UPS began instituting a two-tier pay system that forced part-time workers to take a serious pay cut. The same thing was happening across the country, and between deregulation, corporate consolidation, and trickle-down economics, the conditions continued to decline. In 1991, the Teamsters elected a new reformer president named Ron Carey. And in 1997, he led 185,000 unionized UPS workers out on a massive strike. The strike cost UPS tens of millions of dollars every single day. And after 15 days, the company tapped out. With the public on their side, the Teamsters won big raises for everyone and got 20,000 part-time jobs turned into 10,000 full-time jobs. New conservative leadership unfortunately failed to hold on to many of those wins, and in 2018 agreed to another two-tier pay system that workers absolutely hate. That was the final straw. In 2021, Teamsters rank and file elected an aggressive new president named Sean O'Brien.
And they always ask us when we're doing media, do you want to strike UPS? I said, you should ask UPS that question because they are going to be responsible if a strike happens.
Now they're looking to win a new contract that reflects their worth and gets workers across the country back on track in the war against corporate greed.
We make their profits. All of them sit there, they tell us what to do, they tell us how to run their business, but we do the work. And all we're saying is it's our time.
Now, one employee did get a nice payday last year. CEO Carol Tomei took home $19 million. Shareholders did well too, as UPS dropped $3.5 billion on stock buybacks. The Teamsters have a much different proposal for how all that money is spent. It's got more than a dozen points, which we'll group together in 4 different, packages. In package number 1, working conditions. Workers want management to stop harassing them, stop monitoring their every move with driver-facing cameras up in their faces, put some air conditioning in the trucks, and quit it with the forced overtime for starters. No more 14-hour days, 6 days a week. And in package number 2, and this is the big one, is the end of two-tier. They want equal pay for equal work. Right now, some of the drivers get full-time pay and weekends off, while a whole generation of new drivers, known as 22-4s internally at UPS, get screwed.
Drivers are divided into two. They do the same job, but some of them are under that new contract, and the other ones are regular drivers. And the difference is like, I believe, even like $10 the hour difference.
I mean, there's no difference at all. That's what's unfair about it. The fact that 22.4 drivers are doing the same exact job. In fact, we're actually working much more, out there, longer hours, delivering higher volumes for such a less pay.
I have to be here from 4:30 to 8:30 in the morning. I have to come in, then I go home. I try to get as much sleep as I can get before I come in the next time, which is 4:30 to 8:30 p.m. that same day, and then go home and get some sleep again. I can tell you that I'm extremely exhausted. Every part of my body is hurting right now. Just the only reason why I come to work is because I need money,
Now, UPS wants all full-timers to work brutal schedules with no real weekend. It also wants to hire more part-timers, which brings us to UPS's dirty secret. The company likes to boast about high wages, but only a small percentage of workers receive it. 60% of its workers are part-time, often making barely above minimum wage.
The starting pay part-timer has been stagnant for a long time. We work at the dawn of the morning, and we work. It's physically challenging. From about 3, 4 o'clock, we are subjected to a rigorous undertaking. We guarantee 3.5 hours. Within that time, we do like 8 hours worth of work.
So that's package number 3, better pay for part-timers, and to turn these jobs into full-time. In essence, UPS's goal is to be a lot more like Amazon, treating workers like disposable widgets, which is how they already view your packages.
How they treat the packages, they don't care. As long as you get the deliveries done, that's all that matters to them. Numbers, that's all that matters to them.
UPS is miles apart from getting it right now. The company wants fewer full-time workers and more part-timers. In fact, they want workers that aren't Teamsters at all. Uber and Lyft-esque gig workers that deliver packages out of their own cars. And that's package number 4. No subcontracting and no gig workers taking union drivers' work. Baseline, keep UPS a union workforce. Guaranteed schedules and fair pay. Respect workers. The clock is ticking on negotiations. On one side are the workers and consumers. On the other, UPS and Wall Street. A good contract for the Teamsters will show the power of working people over corporate America, not just for UPS workers, but for working people everywhere.
Well, thank you for tuning in to the More Perfect Union channel. I guess we always say that. They want to be like Uber and Lyft and use your own fucking cars.
Yeah, and subcontract. Yeah. I mean, those are things you have no idea about.
Mind blown. Like,
Yeah.
mind fucking blown.
Yeah. So,
But see, that's what's confusing, though. That's a fucking federal job. How do you let people use
Yeah.
their own cars?
I know, my mind was blown about that too.
It seems like there's some legality issues with that. What the
Yeah, although, subcontracting is a regular, Amazon does that all the time. Now, again, they do not have unions. For delivery drivers at least, right? But subcontracting has been more of a thing that they're doing. So, yeah.
Wow.
And I think I saw Sean O'Brien speak this summer with Sarah Nelson when they were actually doing a rally for the Starbucks workers.
And you can hear that Bostonian accent, so that's how I remembered you speak.
Yeah. And I think the irony is that I don't remember if Sean O'Brien might have said that, but Sarah Nelson did mention in her speech about a general strike and how that is necessary to do at some point, right, in order to get your point across. And I think the irony there is that 300,000 workers, right, if they were to all go on strike, I mean, that's kind of you're starting to approach, I mean, at least for US standards, you're starting to approach general strike numbers, right? Just with that industry alone. So that's something I found very fascinating. But yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways to look at this. I think, well, one of the things is it reminds us that it's not as simple as join a union. Unions still have a democratic process. You still have to vote whether or not you're going to strike. And sometimes unions decide not to strike.
Yeah.
I think this one will, but historically it does happen sometimes. So that kind of is a reminder that it's not like you join a union and everything's like solved. The other thing that's, why don't you read that comment?
Yeah, so Joy and Andrew, have either of you read The Capital Order by Clara Mattei? She details how the Capital Order uses a trinity of austerity measures, monetary, fiscal, and industrial, to discipline labor. I have not read that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to write that down.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
I think one of the other things that's concerning is that, well, my fear, like, okay, so this is one of those kinds of jobs that, like in UK, when they protest, like when the bus drivers protest and they just literally stop working, or some of them just started giving people free fare all day. That changed like practically immediately. But in the US, even though UPS is federal and you're talking, like you said, hundreds of thousands of workers, I don't think they're going to let it go on long. I really don't. I see them after a few days, maybe a week, giving a breadcrumbs and people realizing we need the fucking money. We got to go back to work, because that happens so fucking much.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't really want to say too much about some things because I don't know what is public knowledge and what isn't, but I'm curious as to how they're going to go about, like, what their strategy is going to be like for striking, right? And how it'll be interesting to see how much they want to get the community involved versus they want to do it their own way, right? Because that makes a huge difference in terms of you got to, like, getting the community involved, and helping them stay on the picket line, right? And giving you a break. And those are all different things that I've noticed that, some places do more than others. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, granted, they do have a shitload of workers, but the more solidarity you can try and bring across lines, right? Across people, across different industries, across different people with different identities, people who have similar type of work that they're doing. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of truck drivers, right? There's a hell of a lot, so you could really push waves on that, and yeah.
And I think it's really interesting too, because we've seen a wave in Amazon strikes and unions, thankfully, but Amazon is optional. Nobody needs Amazon. Amazon's a choice, whereas UPS, now you're talking more into, okay, if you want to ship something, what is it? UPS or FedEx? Isn't that like the only thing? So you're talking more of a necessity.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of different. Something we haven't really seen.
Right. So, keeping on the topic of labor uprising, let me. So
Do you have Sean O'Brien's contact?
I do not.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can get him.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a very common
see if
name,
any-
though. I feel like I checked before, but
I think I
I
do follow him on Twitter. I'll check because I think I
oh,
definitely
okay.
Twitter. All right. So Gannett journalists walk out accusing CEO of decimating local news rooms. As shareholders gathered at the annual meeting of Gannett, the largest newspaper company in the United States following a 2019 merger, hundreds of unionized employees from across the country walked off the job on Monday to demand investors take action against what the journalists say is corporate greed at the top of the organization. The journalists, who are represented by the News Guild Communications Workers of America, say CEO and Chairman Mike Reed has overseen the gutting of local newsrooms across the country at Gannett's more than 300 publications, jeopardizing readers' access to local news and threatening the livelihoods of reporters, while Reed collects a multi-million-dollar salary. With the walkout, the unionized employers are calling on shareholders to hold a no-confidence vote against Reed. In a letter to investors last month, the News Guild CWA argued that Reed had failed shareholders by taking on debt with high interest rates when Gannett merged with Gatehouse Media in 2019. While taking home a $7.7 million salary in 2021 and $3.4 million last year, Reed has maintained a compensation policy that is forcing many of our journalists to seek work elsewhere. He has reduced local content by relying on wire service and regional stories and cut newsroom staff. As a result, our communities are not being served and our employers are being demoralized. Therefore, we believe it is time for a change in leadership, a clear vote of no confidence in a guy who has weakened our company, forsaken the towns and cities where we have outlets, and impoverished shareholders. In order to cut costs to service the company's debt, the New York Times reported Monday Gannett has cut its workforce nearly in half since 2019. Gannett has also closed dozens of newspapers entirely, including 6 weekly publications in the Akron, Ohio area this past February, and 4 papers in northern Kentucky last year. So, yeah, you get the point. They're basically local news, as it has been, is under attack. And it's funny because I remember reading an article, when the whole George Santos scandal, right, where it came out that he's lied about every single thing in his life, like a lot of politicians, but
Yeah, it's probably not even his name.
No, it's probably not. But I remember reading an article that talked about, they were like, well, why is it just coming out now? Like, how was this not exposed?
Yeah, we covered that. Yeah.
And part of the reason was because of the local news infrastructure is just so weak. And of course, the corporate media is not, they're not gonna report upon it until they're like, this is gonna really help our ratings, right? So what better way to help the ratings to be like, oh, by the way, there's like this psychopath that's like in Congress now, right? Like, as opposed to, oh, there's this shitty person that's running for Congress, right? Like, okay, him and how many other people, right? But
right.
And so that just shows how broken our system is and how this article we're talking about kind of permeates into that. And that's kind of the real life scenario of like the consequences of what that is, right? You end up, these things end up happening. And by the time it's reported upon, it's too late to do anything. It's like, hey, well, he's elected, or, oh, this disaster happened, even though there had been all these local news agencies trying to point out, hey, this is wrong. This is what's going to happen if this gets done. So, yeah.
Well, I think also, the interesting thing is, like, I feel like so much, I mean, I was only 18 in 1996. So 17. So, but the Telecommunications Act of 1996, I mean, that's when a lot of this shit changed. Thanks, Slick Willie. But I mean, the fact that 6 news companies own all news media, including shows and,
90%.
publications, and it's just freaking insane.
Yeah. Oh shit. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and you know who voted for the Telecommunications Act, amongst many other people, but Ed Markey voted for the Telecommunications Act
Seriously?
in Congress. Yeah.
Oh my god.
He
He's
did.
such a dumbass.
I know. I remember finding that out when he was running, as someone who is kind of supposedly supposed to be kind of like the next Bernie, even though he's been in Congress and Senate forever, right? And granted, like he has, done some things that are above average, others for however much that counts for, and the bar is pretty low. But I remember reading that and I was like, oh god damn. And then there was not to go off too much on Ed Markey, but that just reminded me of that.
He endorsed Elizabeth Warren. Anyone who endorsed Warren can eat a bag of dicks. I don't fucking care.
And what's interesting is because, I remember reading, and I know, people have thoughts and feelings about Ryan Grimm, understandable, but in his book, basically, he reported that Ed Markey basically acknowledged that the war in Iraq, because he voted for the war in Iraq, and he was talking to his staffers, and he basically said, yeah, I know this war is bullshit, but this is just one of the things where I got to just kind of go along with it for X, Y, and Z purposes, right? And that, I think, really just kind of shows the strong limitations that someone like Ed Markey has, who, I guess is probably thought of as like the top 3 progressive senators, and this is why everybody's upset and why our country's going to shit, because the good politicians like that are also like, we'll just violate UN violations, whatever.
You are not as repugnant as the other ones, so yeah, we'll take you. On a scale of Biden, you're good.
You're a couple notches above Biden. Good work. All right, so we are going to be talking about Palestine next. And give me one sec to pull this up. All right. The news cycle has moved on from the pain in eastern Ohio and western PA following the derailment, but the impacts of Norfolk Southern's negligence have left a lasting mark. We've got to make this right and improve rail safety, no matter how long it takes. Should I open the article, or do you want me to scroll down with the tweet?
Yeah, you can read the article.
Okay. So
and that's Chrissy. That's Chrissy. She'll be coming on my show. I've been interviewing a lot of people from East Palestine. So tune in for her interview as well.
All right. So depression is through the roof. East Palestine residents can't return to homes they fear are poison, and it's taking a toll. In the weeks after a toxic train derailed a mile from her East Palestine, Ohio home, Chrissy Ferguson lived with her family in hotel rooms. She would wake up in the morning and drive to her job at a convenience store, and then get calls from a hotel manager because her dogs wouldn't stop barking. Cleaning crews pushing carts up and down the hallways always triggered the pups. Other problems cropped up. Ferguson's 81-year-old mother, Norma Carr, who's battling Parkinson's disease, had difficulty unlocking the hotel room door with a card, So for 8 hours a day, Norma and her husband Bob, who's sliding into dementia, age 89, never left the room. Ferguson, 49, yearned to go back to her East Palestine home, a 2-story duplex, but didn't dare. Being there made her sick. She fears toxic chemicals that leaked from broken and burned railroad cars have made their way into a creek that runs under her house. The smell hits her as soon as she walks into the front door. She wonders, what will these poisons do to my mother if we move back? Already, Ferguson has thrown out the family's contaminated furniture, including a couch and an easy chair. She felt stuck between 2 bad choices: live in a poisoned house or squeeze her family indefinitely into hotel rooms. So Ferguson prayed, God, please make a way. Now, Ferguson and her family, along with the cars, includes her common-law husband, her daughter, and her daughter's boyfriend, live in a modern 3-bedroom house with a carefully groomed yard in the middle of a golf course in Columbiana, Ohio. Natural light streams in through the house's large windows. The rooms flow into each other. The interior feels open and expansive. And the entire neighborhood, with its wide streets and single-family homes built into the past few decades, feels affluent. Even the street name Canterbury Court sounds upscale. Last year, the homes Ferguson occupies sold for more than $380,000. Norfolk Southern is paying for the bill so she and her family can stay there. Do you want me to keep going?
No, that's okay. But yeah, I mean, this gives you a look into what some of these people are dealing with. I definitely recommend watching my other interviews with people from East Palestine. Chrissy is going through it. Chrissy already also tested very, very high in vinyl chloride. And the tests for vinyl chloride are $700. And they are not covered by insurance for even 1 penny. So it is $700 out of pocket for every single person who wants one. And her numbers are really high. They're bad. So she's right. They are in a hostage situation. They go back to the home that they love and that they've been in. Some have been there for generations. Or they go stay in a hotel. Those are the only 2 options. They're suffering really bad. And, some of the people I talked to in East Palestine, they said that the mental health aspect is not getting addressed. And, well, first of all, we know a lot of them don't have insurance or they're underinsured. So there's that. But also, what they're experiencing is a trauma. It is an actual trauma. I know a woman who literally calls it PTSD because she wakes up in the middle of the night thinking she hears train sounds exploding. This is serious. These are real psychological problems that are totally understandable. And I've been told of 2 married couples who are going through divorce because of all the stresses that have happened the past 4 months. Maybe they could make things work with a therapist. I don't know, but that's not even an option. So, mental health is definitely getting ignored by people who even talk about East Palestine. And it's something, especially with the kids. The kids, I've talked to people who say, how do you tell your kid, take 1 toy and we need to leave? Because that's exactly what one of my comrades was saying. She said to her 3-year-old daughter, grab 1 thing, grab your coat, we're out. Try and explain that to a freaking kid. Try and explain, I don't want to get too graphic, but literally little boys are peeing blood right now. It's bad.
It sounds
It is
like
bad.
it sounds like almost like the premises of like a dystopian poem, like take a toy and leave, right? Like that you read about in like history, right? Like how things were, and it's like this is happening now. Yeah.
They are being told that they will likely never have children. They still have burning eyes, skin rashes. The list goes on. But yeah, I mean, try explaining to a kid, this is why you stop breathing in the middle of the night. This is why you're peeing blood. This is why we had to leave our house. Like, this is what these parents are going through. And yeah, it's affecting their mental health. So I'm not going to pass up this opportunity to say, if any of you want to help the people in East Palestine, Andrew, can you put the m4all.org in the comments? I am holding a rally and mutual aid event July 22nd in East Palestine. We are renting a truck. We are bringing case after case of water and groceries, but we need your help. If you donate even $5, that's an entire case of water for a family in need. These people don't even have water, and they're still taking baths in water. So it's so beyond serious. I cannot stress it enough. That's why I had to hold the rally and mutual aid there, because they're being ignored, and we cannot do it without your help. And I'll be damned if I disappoint them. I told them I'm going to bring them a whole bunch of, like, I straight up said 100 cases of water and groceries. And we are nowhere near raising that money. So we need your help.
Doug says we'll donate after the stream.
Do what?
C-Dub says they will donate after the stream.
Thank you so much. Is Teresa in here tonight? I didn't see Teresa. But thank you so much, Teresa. We got your donation the other day. You are incredible. So yeah, anything, even $5, that helps. Because I just found out yesterday, I'm also going to be donating water and groceries to Darlington, PA, which is right on the border of Pittsburgh and East Palestine. It is considered Pennsylvania, so they are getting zero help, and they are severely affected. So because they're outside the 1 mile zone, nobody's paying attention to them. So someone reached out to me and I said, absolutely, we'll help you too. So now we need to raise even more money for water and groceries. But when you're an activist, you don't turn anyone down. You don't do that. So it's stressful. It is very stressful to try and fundraise for these people, but I cannot stress how much they need all of our help. So yes, anything you could give, m4all.org. It helps tremendously.
So,
Andrew contributed on my birthday.
Yes, I did. Happy birthday. Happy late
And
birthday.
he's flying out.
So Jordan, there's a tweet by Jordan David. WHD-LASD just brutalized and arrested 3 queer volunteers at WeHo Pride. The sheriffs were making fun of the booth, and the volunteers responded. This is why we don't like cops at Pride. The sheriffs then attacked them and are filing bogus charges. Will update here.
So just a trigger warning. This video is fucked up.
All right.
At Pride. Oh my God.
What we need. This is what we need. He was laughing at something homophobic. He was being homophobic. He was laughing at a liberation sign. I told him he shouldn't be there. I told him that he's no cops at Pride, and then they're detaining me. I only said 4 words.
And they snuck up on him.
My name is Sonny.
Did you see that? They snuck up on him.
My name is Sonny Rose. I did nothing wrong. All we said was no cops. I did nothing wrong. My name is Zodiac Rose. And he came to me, and I was just talking to an officer. I said he shouldn't be laughing at something.
So as you go down in the thread, you start to learn more. They tried to say, oh, Zodiac Rose had a warrant out for their arrest. That's why. Well, first of all, one of the people at the booth said the cops literally walked by our booth back and forth for like the past 4 hours. No, he did not have a warrant out for their arrest. But there were 2 other people arrested in addition to Zodiac Rose. So why were they tackled and freaking arrested? At this point, there hasn't been an update today. But as of last night, they were all still in jail. How, dude, like, this is not something new. People who are threatened, who are marginalized, they don't want cops like hovering over them. This isn't some like rare thing. You know, cops do this shit. So if they're making fun of their signs and then they have the audacity to turn around and say, this is why I don't like cops at Pride. How the hell is that offensive? It's not. It's an opinion. It's just like this. Why can't they say that? You literally just made fun of them. And then I have the biggest penis. I'm going to take out my badge and I'm going to push you to the concrete because I am, so strong. And, like, seriously, just let people be happy. It's so gross. What was your thought when you saw that, Andrew?
I mean, unfortunately, this is typical of what happens. I feel like it's just sort of like, oh, another day, another similar scenario. Yeah.
The thing that really sucks is like when you're an organizer and an activist, when something like this happens, that is all the news talks about. You may have had amazing times during that whole day. Doesn't matter. That news story is going to be about how 3 people were arrested. Guarantee it. So it only takes 1 or 2 assholes to cause a scene and have the entire thing just kind of taken over by negativity. Like, just let people be happy for one fucking day. It's so bananas. It's just gross.
So on that note, we're going to put up the funny.
And I don't even know what this means. It's for sale. I don't know, but I cried. I laughed so fucking hard. What is that? Oh my god, I can't. Yeah. Is that abusive? I don't know, but it's funny. That is like, I love it. I'm gonna print that out and frame it. I fucking love it.
It's like next level with like, when Ralphie in A Christmas Story gets his bunny.
The bunny suit, yeah.
Suit. It's like
oh my god,
the 2023 version of that, I guess.
Oh my god, I could get one for Duchess.
Oh
man, that would be amazing. Oh my god. So what do you have coming up, Andrew?
Yeah, same old. Yeah. What do you have coming up?
So much. I have some awesome guests coming up. I'm just waiting on the dates to be solidified, but coming up this month, I have a huge announcement of something I'm doing this month. And, July 22nd, rally and mutual aid in East Palestine. Again, if you could even, every $5 you donate is a case of water to a family in East Palestine. They are still drinking bottled water. They are still boiling it for food, and they are still taking baths in bottled water. Also, someone reached out to me yesterday and was telling me how their animals are really suffering. Like, people who are getting bottled water are having to pour bottled water in troughs for horses, and it's taking like full cases. So I'm also going to be getting like a lot of jugs, just big jugs, and it's less plastic too. So we can help with the livestock, because a lot of farms are really suffering with lack of water. So we're going to be getting tons of water, and also groceries. We're going to be making some mutual aid bags with non-perishables, such as like peanut butter and granola bars and things like that, because they need groceries too. I mean, just to stress this, you guys, the median income in East Palestine is a family of four, $29,000. How can you live on that, even as one person? That's still poverty. So I'm trying everything I can, but I need your help, guys. So just remember, every $5 is a case of water or groceries for them. If you can, go to M4. Can you put it in the comments, Andrew? It's the number 4, M4M4all.org. We put receipts for everything we spend it on. But yes, I mean, we really need your help. We're getting down to the wire here, and we're renting a truck. So we want to fill that bad boy. So thank you guys so much for watching. Much love. Stay tuned. I'll be doing some other shows this week.